Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought today we would do the other side of the coin. So yesterday we talked about how Gaijin cocked up basically at every level when it came to the economy changes. They did literally everything wrong. And for some reason, some people took this as I was still somehow supporting them in their actions while saying they literally did everything wrong that they could have. So yeah, sometimes you just can't win like with some people, so there's absolutely no point in even discussing them. I will do some comment response stuff tomorrow, just because I think it's a good idea to try and like bounce around these ideas, and also, just basically kind of go through them. But just understand, like, I completely disagree with how Gaijin handled this whole thing. I think it was ridiculously bad, probably some of the worst things I've ever done, which is what I said yesterday, which is always, simple as that. Anyway, let's get into the other side of things, the whole response to everything, because the response to it was kind of interesting. You obviously had some unity between people, which was nice to see, something that in War Thunder has always been hard to do. But then, as usual, everything finished off with a very wet fart, which it always does, because the unity never really lasts. So, as we talked about yesterday, Gaijin kept shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over again by making several different articles, which all pretty much said the same thing in different ways, but people responded to them differently because of how they were written. Now, one thing I do want to point out is the timing of these articles. So this one was on the 23rd of May, so this was the last one that came out, which was the sincerest apologies one, right? And as we talked about yesterday, this article is exactly the same as this one. The only difference is they've changed some of the wording. Now, there's no comments on this one, but there are comments on the free-to-play one, which is where they asked for community-like guidance. So you can see all of the different responses here, which are completely different to the responses here, which is something I should have noted yesterday, just to kind of show you the difference when it comes to these things, right? So look, finally a step in the right direction, but only a step. We'll have to see the actual changes. What's this? An apology worded like an apology. Progress. Like, as I said, it doesn't matter what they actually wrote. It matters that people took it as like an apology, even though it's written literally the same as this one. It's nuts to me how the world works nowadays. But then there was a PC Gamers article, which brought up like a bunch of YouTubers, brought up a bunch of, images, and also even a comment from Gaijin themselves by Rich Stanton. And one of the things that kind of stood out to me was this from whoever Tim Jameson is. They've made a point of reducing almost all rewards in game while increasing costs. It's become pretty well as bad as most gacha games in terms of input and output. Furthermore, Gaijin has recently unfolded many vehicles in-game. What this means is essentially forcing players to research minor variations of vehicles that they weren't before, artificially increasing the grind by about 20% at least. No. This is just factually false, by the way. They unfolded a bunch of very low-tier vehicles to be able to get, once again, what they said, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, the whole idea of trying to get people to play fuller lineups instead of progressioning like too fast through trees. You're either going to be okay with that or not okay with that, but it's not 20% of the game. We're talking like a bunch of rank 1 and 2 vehicles, which is not going to increase the grind by 20%. So yeah, if we're using quotes like this just tells me the author has no idea how the actual research system works when it comes to the setup. So anyway, the reason why I wanted to point out these 3 articles again is timings. One of the beliefs that I've seen around the place is the fact that the review bombing started and was like hit its full force, and then the articles came out to try and quell the issue, right? So if we go to the change logs, just kind of look at the economy stuff, right? So that happened on the 18th, right? on the 18th is when they brought in. By the way, you can see all the stuff that they removed from groups and even switch places of stuff. And also, remember, reduce the amount of RP needed altogether by 1 point. I think it was 1,250,000 RP, but everybody forgets about that. But it doesn't matter. So there was that, right? Then the articles came out afterwards, the two from the 19th, which was this one and then this one. And then if you actually have a look at the Steam charts of when things actually started ramping up, you will see a pattern, okay? So if you have a look here, this was the 17th. This was the 18th, which was the first day of the changes, and then they were reverted on the same day. Then the two articles came out, then everything ramped up, right? So you see this? So when Gaijin say, like, especially Anton says in the PC Gamer article, the idea that after, like, we put out these articles, then everything started ramping up after that, that's what he's talking about. But for some reason, there's this belief from people that these negative reviews were a reaction to the changes. But the changes were already reverted by this point. There was also 2 articles put out going through the changes, and that is what sparked all of this. And the reason why it sparked it is because, as I said, when it comes to the articles and everything like that, they just kept stoking the fires, setting the kindling, you know, basically lighting the match, and then just keep going from there over and over and over again. And they did it for several bloody days, like doing these things, which is why, as I said, they handled this horrifically. So the idea that all of this was because of the original reverted changes is just not true. These two were, because those were on those days, but these were when people realized, oh, okay, now we can just go nuts. And yeah, that's what happened. So overall, you had about 100,000 negative reviews. Steam decided to remove, like, basically 82,000 of them to off-topic. The reason for this, Steam does this, it's either an automated system where they have a look and go, oh god, like, something really awkward's happening, we better look at the reviews, and it removes the off-topic ones, which, like, there was a few which were, like, literally, like, butter chicken recipes and things like that, like, people who were coming back from the game and, you know, basically going through all of these ideas and then kind of just tossing them out there into the ether in War Thunder. So people who either were dissatisfied with the changes, or people who were returning who were trying to get on the bandwagon. Because there is a lot of people who actually take part when it comes to the War Thunder media and online space who no longer play the game. There's a lot of people who watch, like, my stuff on the channel, which also don't play the game anymore. It's kind of interesting. One of the things to also note, because I've seen a few things going around as always, I do have a job outside of this. I have full-time employment on top of all of this, and I have a family stuff. So I'm not just like a NEET who literally just plays the game all the time. I do all of the other stuff as well, right? Which is why over the last week, you know, I was spending time with family. Like, if I'm not like addicted to the game or anything. I can just like walk away and do quite a lot and just go play other things for little periods of time. Like the whole of January, I was just playing other games, and I highly recommend other people do that, by the way. I don't think you should just have one game that you only play, even if it's free to play. Path of Exile is a fantastic game. Really enjoy Path of Exile. So, that's a little bit of a time period on what the start of this happened. So, a lot of people on specifically Reddit, they even talked about it in the article, this one, on Reddit, where a decent portion of the Western community of the game, so basically like, you know, European, North American, Canadian, even like South America, that's where generally they hang out. And this is something that I found as well. If you ever have a look at any metrics for Reddit, it is very Americentric, is probably the way to put it. So the highest percentage of people who are on Reddit are male and American. So whenever you're on Reddit, understand that. You know, generally you are dealing with Americans who are male, and they're usually between the age of 15 to 35. right? These stats have been pretty much the same for years, and it's never going to change. So just understand that when you're dealing with these setups. We go from there to different things. So you have a bunch of articles from the last week, which basically talk about the blogs, saying how you've got to keep up the pressure, you got to keep going, you got to keep hammering, because of the fact that it's shown that it's worked. You know, there was a few negative reviews, and then they put out this saying, oh, negative reviews hurt them. All right, go, bang, 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 bang. And that's what you get here. So, as I said, Gaijin literally caused this. they horrifically dealt with this. And there's a bunch of posts on Reddit basically talking about the fact that this was a real issue. And then Gaijin decided to remove Steam from the War Thunder homepage, which prompted a bunch of people, you can see here, which prompted a bunch of people to basically remove, or you can see it here, sorry, basically remove the Steam client and go back to the War Thunder launcher, which isn't really a surprise at the end of the day, because if you think a platform's going to be removed, then that's pretty much what you do. And you still want to play the game, you just go back to a different part of the platform, right? So you just go to the standard Windows launcher or whatever. But also at the same time, they were never going to do that, at least not as quickly as people thought, because the damage done is nowhere near as much as people think. Because once again, okay, I'm going to say that word that triggers a lot of people, and we're going to go into this in the video where we respond to comments, the vocal minority thing. Okay, so here I'll do it like TLDW, but we'll go into it heavier when it comes to other things, because people really don't like hearing they're in a vocal minority, which is fine. It's fine, right? It's the same as a lot of social issues when it comes to like political stuff. Most people don't care. That doesn't mean that vocal minorities can't get stuff done. Usually what actually happens is vocal minorities do get stuff done, and then stuff goes from there. But to label it as anything apart from a vocal minority is wrong. It's factually a vocal minority, okay? Even if you have a look at the amount of reviews, so the 100,000, right? Even if you have a look at that, even if you have a look at the amount or thousands of people who like upvote or see stuff on Reddit, you know, when it comes to the standard War Thunder one, or the Players Union stuff, or, you know, the Discord with 14,000 members on it or whatever, if you have a look at all of those stuff and you even add them all together, it is still a minority of War Thunder players. If you say that, let's say, I don't know, there are on average 90,000 people playing War Thunder times all the day, which would make sense since you do have spikes from about 150 to 160,000 all the way down to 80,000. So let's even say it's 100,000, right? Just to kind of be fair. Let's say the average person plays approximately 2 hours, which is actually what Gaijin have said when it comes to the game. That's what they believe people do. So 100 times what? Times 12 to give you the whole day. That's 1.2 million people. Just to kind of give you like rough estimates on how this stuff works. So everything you see on social media, like whether it be like YouTube stuff, whether it be like Reddit stuff, whether it be interactions when it comes to like the War Thunder website, that is all a minority of people. And I know that sounds horrific because, you know, everybody wants to be in the majority. Everybody wants to believe that everybody's behind them when it comes to these things, but it's just not true. The actual fact of this is most people don't care. And if you don't believe me, we can go into the boycott stuff and then kind of go from there. So there's like kind of the groundwork of what sparked everything, right? So all of this stuff sparked outrage. People started talking about the whole War Thunder Union stuff, you know, bringing together players once again to fight the power because, yes, let's go. Woo! Unions are fun. I actually like unions. I think unions are cool. When it comes to you actually working and not playing a bloody video game. But basically, the issue with a union in a video game is representation. So if you create a union and bring it together, right? So the War Thunder Players Union, how do you vote who is in charge? Especially if you do it through a Reddit, or especially if you do it through a Discord, because there's going to be an admin and there's going to be moderators that they put into place, and they are not going to be voted upon. So what you already have is a system which has failed, because it is not for the player, it is for the individuals who created the union, which is very anti-union if you understand how unions work. One of the key things about unions in real life and not run by NEETs in a video game is bargaining power. You need bargaining power to be able to actually put through change. That's why, okay, if the guys who are in this union, we're not going to work, and you are going to give us stuff, and then we'll go back to work, right? Simple bargaining power. If we don't give up our means to you, then you don't get money, we don't get money, but at the end of the day, it will crush you and we can go work for other people, right? Simple as that. Simple bargaining power. As a union, when it came to the players' union, there was no bargaining power at all. Because of the fact that, as we know, when it comes to War Thunder, generally players don't care about this stuff, and also what ends up happening is generally people are not really interested in these huge actions. Instead, it's usually better to just, stop playing. It's if people want to, or at the same time, just kind of play the stuff that they want in the game, right? Which is what most people do. So let's pick it up again when it comes to stuff in front. So we had the don't fall for today's blog, and then we had the Steam being removed, and oh my god, what's going on? Obviously we're making a difference once again. So once again, a week ago, just guiding once again, just adding fuel to the fire over and over and over again. Hey, let me hear the people sing the song of Angry Man, like all that stuff. We're revolutionizing, brothers. Let's go. And then there was this one, which I just kind of wanted to put in because it had 4.3k upvotes. And it says, if you play a match of War Thunder, the repair cost should never exceed the pool of SL paid out for the match. For example, if your repair cost of 45k and you only made 20k, your payout is 0. Even if you spawn, die, and leave, even if you spawn 5 times, die, and leave KD 0.5, this absolute minimum SL you should earn in the match is 0. You should not lose progress for playing a game. Life is too short for that. Demanding any changes less than this is pure Stockholm Syndrome, in my opinion. Said the guy who creates bots. Like, right, okay. Just think about it, okay? We've talked about why SL exists many times. It's very obvious why SL exists. It's a very good system to try and reduce the amount of botting that you have in a video game, right? If you don't have a negative incentive, it's very easy to bot the game, and this is what you would get. You would get a flood of bots. If you don't believe me, have a look at Naval, and how Naval has been dealing with for the longest time with either reserve vehicles or premiums, which are run by bots. And that basically means they're able to do whatever they want and still be able to play the game. It's awful, and it's so annoying when it comes to Naval. Simulators had a similar issue when it comes to it. And if you put in a system like this, you would have bots take over the whole game. You would no longer play against players. And I know people just say, well, just ban the bots. It's literally impossible to do that because of how the game is set up, right? It's a free-to-play game. It takes literally 0 effort to create an account. They even made the guest feature to try and get more people in to, give it a go and push that stuff through. So, yeah, you need these negative incentives to stop this. And I know people will never understand it, especially people who are low on SL, and that's fine. But it has to exist, otherwise your gaming experience will be annihilated. Right, so then there was this one, which these ones always get me. Always get me. Always fun. So, Gaijin is a company with Russian leadership. When I say Russian, I mean how the vast majority of companies in this country are managed. We Russians have a proverb, until a fried rooster bites in the ass. It means that no one will do anything until a catastrophe happens. Everyone will always try to cover everything up and put the blame on anyone. You can't negotiate with them. The company always does what the boss wants. They can promise you anything, but in fact, they will do what they want. This is how business is done in Russia. Either you push until you defeat your opponent, or your opponent defeats you. No favors. Here, kindness is perceived as weakness and an opportunity to strike. Snails have already lost their reputation. They cheated, used the trust of players by manipulating them. If not for this strike, they will continue to milk people. Don't trust them. Don't remove negative reviews. Postscriptum. Once the opposition in Russia fell for the promises of the authorities about the possibility of an agreement, the protests subsided, after which the authorities took advantage of this and quietly cleared out the opposition in Russia, making any protest impossible. You can see for yourself what state my country is in now. Right, okay. Whew. So, I know this may shock people, but this is kind of also how other countries work when it comes to their companies. Like, I don't know how many people actually know about how certain companies in the West, like Nestle, have dealt with issues. Also Nike as well. A lot of, like, the whole sweatshop stuff that everybody's talked about, the whole Banana Republic things, the whole Coca-Cola Death Squad stuff, like, all of those things. Like, it's not, this is not just a Russian thing at the end of the day. Usually, companies look out for themselves and will do things to make sure the company survives. That's fine. You know, it's how it goes. The simple thing is, Gaijin has responded to criticism, though. Like, literally, all of these here are responses to criticism in different ways, right? All of them. Okay? These were all posted before, or apart from this one, but before the changes, okay? So, the point's moot, right? If they believe this, they'll just shut down and not do anything. So then the next one is there was some guys who actually went to the Gaijin HQ in Hungary, you know, that Russian company that has offices everywhere in the world and definitely only has Russian employees, even though all of the ones who are public facing, whether it be Oxy, Mike, Copsy, you know, Esmin, Scarpa, Stoner, all of these people, they're all Russian, by the way, even though most of them, well, all of them aren't, by the way. They're German, British, and I believe Polish at the end of the day. So, yeah, somebody actually went up to the main offices and put some posters on it. So fight the power, yeah? Fight the power. We have 4 posters. Nice. Well done, everybody. And, we got some good old thumbs up and all of that good stuff. Would have been probably better if you spray painted it. I do prefer a bit of spray paint. Some pictures, they're super easy to get rid of, but a good old like anarchy spray paint always going to be fun with. But that was very based, as we saw. Once again, 3.4k upvotes. So yeah, there you go. Simple as that. Oh no, sorry, it's in Moscow, my bad. So this is in Russia instead of Hungary, where their main offices would be. So kind of useless. Then regarding the Snail's latest repentance, because of course this stuff has to have certain monotones of it. Please consider that it's too early to celebrate any significant victory. The biggest achievement we get from their post is not being called a bunch of clowns with no idea of an economy whatsoever. Until they release exact plans regarding economy reworks, our disbelief and dissatisfaction should not falter. Hi. So what I'll do is I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. So they'll release this stuff in a month, which is, I think, what they're going to do, a month or two, and then there's still going to be a bunch of people who are dissatisfied. Okay? They're never going to be satisfied. Because if you haven't been paying attention the last week, there is a metric ton of people who, no matter, they literally reverted everything. They apologized for everything. They said they were going to redo stuff. They're doing Q&As. They're doing all this stuff. There is still a percentage of people who are going, no, we're not doing this. We can't do anything. We're not going to help out. Screw you. Everything's wrong. Because for some reason, there is just a small set of War Thunder players who are brain damaged and need to just leave the game. They need to go. They need to go and enjoy themselves and have fun. But for some reason, they're not. They're stuck in this very mentally harrowing place. And sometimes it's best just to walk away, right? Simple as that. It says, don't mail them pipe bombs, but don't think they've already corrected everything, because they haven't. Let's keep our guard up and see what's coming next. Then we'll see if we should keep protesting or forgive the greedy snail. Because protesting is making Reddit posts, and definitely forcing change. Then the next one was there was a bunch of cool, stuff, Some people actually made some really cool art. I'm not going to lie. I thought a lot of it was nice. It was all really easy because it was just basic bitch like propaganda posters. But propaganda posters are kind of cool. Like the one in this article, May 26th, don't play the game, which we'll get into now. So, after the review bombing, which seemed to be successful, even though, the fact is this is the part that actually got the reaction, not any of this. So, overall, it was pretty good. It worked very well. And then we got what can only be classed as memes. So after the whole Reddit went a little bit crazy, it spawned two things, right? So you have the War Thunder Player Unions Reddit, which is always enjoyable. And then you have the War Thunder Player Union Discord, which, as we just talked about before, one of the issues with this setup is the simple fact that you don't have control if you're the average player of what goes on. Instead, what you have is the same thing you always have, a group of people who will power trip and who will go over and basically silence any criticisms that they have, and it won't support the average player. We saw this a lot already when it comes to the player union stuff, especially on the Discord, many people getting muted, many people getting silenced, because of course, when it comes to general civil discourse, it's not allowed. Especially if it goes against the narratives. So here we have the suggestions that some of the guys went through. This was the suggestions, and then they made a final list of demands, which is always fun. I like this one. Find an effective way to remove bots. Bots prevent proper game balance and ruin entire game modes. They're just not doing that. They're just trying the best. This one as well. Win rates are a poor statistic for balancing vehicles as a whole, and the practice must be replaced with a more thorough investigation of vehicle performance and play potential, which basically means human opinions, and human opinions are really bad. The other thing is they don't just use win rates to balance vehicles. They've said this many times. I don't know where this idea comes from. But yeah, so there was a list of demands come out by these guys, which is always fun. But as I said, they don't represent anybody but themselves. It's how this goes every time. If any of the, I suppose, leaders of this want to come on and have a chat when it comes to the stream or when it comes to anything like that, always a fan. Seems like some of the CCs are involved in this stuff, which is even more hilarious. One of them literally made a video 3 or 4 years ago called War Thunder, a Dying Cash Cow, where he literally got every single point wrong. When it came to it. I actually used it as an example in one of my earlier videos about how you shouldn't trust CCs when it comes to CC councils or anything like that, because a lot of them just straight lie to your face because they either don't know the facts and push it forward as facts, or what they do is they do it to get views, which is a horrific thing that people don't want to put forward, but it is how it is. CCs are not your friend. They never will be, especially when monetary value is involved. CCs, many of them, feed off negativity. We've seen this over the last week or so. Many of them have made you believe that the acts, when it comes to the whole boycott thing and all of that, have actually had an effect. And, many people believed in this, and everybody was pushing forward and everybody was together. No, they weren't. So just remember that the next time something like this happens again, where you have people who flagrantly lie to your face, right? These people aren't your friends. I'm also not your friend. I'm just a dude who makes videos on the internet talking about random stuff, right? We can have friendly conversations, but when it comes to best interests and stuff like that, it's always going to be all over the place. Any of these guys who say they have your best interests at heart are lying to you. and they're doing it for monetary gain. It's the simple fact of the matter. It's how all of this goes every time. It is impossible to have everybody's best interests in mind when you're making videos which are divisive and which are designed to basically split player opinion, especially if you're only allowed to hear one side of it. Welcome to the internet, and welcome to how this stuff works. Influencers, or the term influencers in general, is horrific, right? And it's basically just people who manipulate you to believe certain things, even if they're not true, or if they are true, okay? That's just how it goes. If, like, you can literally just look at any industry, like the fitness industry, for example. There's a lot of people who sell really horrific, like, supplements that do nothing while they're massively jacked up on steroids or other performance-enhancing drugs. And basically saying, hey, you can be like me, all of that stuff, right? All these people who are making these videos are all part of the partnership program for War Thunder. They all get stuff for free when it comes to GE, when it comes to vehicles, when it comes to all of this stuff. So if you sat there like typing about how, you know, you can't listen to my opinion on these things because I'm part of the partnership program, even though I've never used any GE to research anything when it comes to the game, absolutely anything. I've researched all standard tech tree vehicles just by playing the game, right? I'm probably the only CC that's ever done that when it comes to the game. But the thing is, if I'm going to get tarnished by that, you have to tarnish all these people as well. Okay? That's just how this goes. And if you don't want to do that, because one person agrees with your opinion and one person disagrees with your opinion, you have to understand that you're coming from a point of, let's say, not unbiased. Let's say that. Okay? So let's go ahead from that. I don't want to go through specific examples because there's literally no point. It's just going to add fuel to fires, and it's just going to bring up a bunch of names which are of people I'm not interested in basically either promoting or supporting. Individuals who literally will just lie for money. So I have no interest in that at all. So when it comes to other stuff, obviously the boycott came along. So the boycott was fun, and the reason why it was fun was because it was supposed to happen on the 26th. It's the 28th today, and there was a lot of confusion because, as usual, when it comes to these things, the boycott was supposed to happen on the 26th, but some people thought it was going to happen on the some people thought it was going to happen on the other days. Some people thought it was going to be like 2 weeks long. Other people thought it was just for one day. By the way, striking for one day on that's not going to do anything. Okay, if you actually want to do something, just walk away for like a month or two. Okay, go take a break. You know, go live your life. Have fun. That's what you should do, okay? So the boycott was supposed to happen when it came to the last little bit. So it was supposed to happen on the 26th, okay? Now, if you have a look at the 26th, which was here, you had 76,000 people playing War Thunder, which was more than the day before, more than the day before that, more than the day before that, and also more than the whole week. Because guess what? It was a weekend. And generally that's what happens on weekends. You have spikes on and leading up to weekends. It's also Memorial Day weekend in the US, and Steam is very much a Western platform. So a lot of Americans use Steam. You also had schools leaving out, and also religious holidays in other areas. So yeah, probably not the best day to put a boycott on, but c'est la vie at the end of the day. One of the things we have seen when it comes to War Thunder and the averages, it has decreased over the last few months, And you can see here, it has decreased a little bit, going down by 6.79% on Steam itself. So there does seem to be a slight, difference. And we're basically back to early of the year levels. So still ridiculously rapid growth compared to the previous years. And you can see here in May of 2022, there was also a massive dip in players, because I know you don't want to hear this, right? I know you don't want to hear this, but you can also see it in May too, in 2021, right? And as you increase the amount of players that are playing the game, the dip increases when there isn't stuff going on in the game. In May, there's hardly anything that goes on. In April, you have the Victory Day events. You have the Battle Pass stuff. In January, you have the winter update. In February, you have the major update. And then, as you lead into June, you have another update, which pops in. So then the players come back every June. You can literally see how this goes. In 2020, it didn't happen like that, but there was a massive loss in all three categories in 2020, mainly because you had such a massive gain in March and April because of course, the pandemic stuff, a bunch of new people coming in. In June 2021, you had a slightly negative one once again, and then it ramps up once again into August. And then if you have a look at the last year, you have a massive boost in June because of that's when the update came out on the 6th. You'll probably see the same here, where you have these huge swings of players. Look how many people started playing the game in January 2023, or at least were going back into it. So overall this year, if you have a look at it, so that's what, 10,500 minus 850, so let's say 9,500, add 3,400, so I don't know, what's that, 12,000 or 13,000, and then minus 4,000. So we're at about 8,000, 9,000 positive players on the year still, right? So if you actually have a look at these things and look at general trends on how this all works, right? Like you can see every May, every year has a massive drop-off of players by percentage, because there's not really a ton happening in May compared to other months. It's not an update one, there's no events going on, everybody's just chill. So just understand that when you're looking at these stats. Like if you actually just expand it a little bit, like you can see what's actually going on as usual. So people took this dip as oh, well, obviously it's making a difference, right? As you go. But if you actually have a look at last year, you have a similar dip. If you have a look at the year before, you have a similar dip. But the dip is just more extreme this time because you have more people playing it, right? So people are like, well, yeah, the boycott's working. And then you had a bunch of crazy people. So, did the boycott work? That's the question. No, it didn't. Because as I said, not as many people actually care about this stuff as the people who are heavily involved in it actually think that it is. So there was a bunch of people who just started making a lot of posts about why this was happening. Talking about the whole like Steam chart stuff, because that's the only metric that people could run on. And then also there was just so many, what can I can only put as deranged people who were moving around the place. So when the boycott, right, so if you had a look in the game, there was a bunch of posts which were around. I suppose this one like basically talked about like how the two weekends were basically the same and didn't have a difference, but there was a bunch of posts which were basically saying, hey guys, so we don't seem to have been doing anything here. Are you guys actually doing this? And here I'll show you one of them just to kind of give you like context, right? Because I think there was one here. Yeah, here you go. So this one, y'all ain't doing a very good job at the no play 26 thing, are you? But yeah, it's it was quite funny. But also the amount online went up to 150,000 overall. So basically a standard day in War Thunder. Weird. So the boycott had absolutely no effect. Also, some of the leaders of the boycott some of the leaders of the boycott, or some of the supposed leaders, such as the War Thunder Player Union guys, the moderators on the Discord, were found playing the game while supposedly doing the boycott. And also in the actual Discord itself, the chat rooms were full of people playing the games, playing War Thunder while they were supposed to be boycotting. So fantastic. And then when something doesn't go your way, remember, the first thing to do when something doesn't go your way, blame everything else, okay? Because that, rule number one, blame everything else, however ridiculous it is. So this is the fun part, where we're going to go through some deranged conspiracy theories, I think is basically the way that you have it. So this one was about active users, talking about how it goes through and how everything works on Steam, because people were pointing towards Steam, even though Steam is not the major player base of War Thunder, because it's the only stat which is easily available. You can literally just like, oh, look at this. Woo, hey, look. I wonder when the weekends are, guys. Do you know when the weekends are? Crazy. But but yeah, there was a bunch of things. So let's start off with this. So this post was talking about like the hostility thing, right? And negativity. Like, why is there so much of it in the game? Because to be honest, like some people do get too invested in the game and they do, go crazy and decide to chat things, which is silly. But just listen to this, okay? So this is from a guy. Because especially after the boycott was announced, Gaijin is employing every trick in the book, which includes paid trolls and sock puppet accounts. They generate a starting statement, something that obliquely attacks people wanting a better economy without promising anything or compromising Gaijin. Then people who want to be seen as savvy hop on board, creating a feedback loop. Example, God, you losers are so cringe. Did you really think the boycott would work? Your Discord's a mess and it was doomed to fail. A true statement. It is very cringe. Bystander. Love a bystander. Who might agree that the economy is fucked but is on the fence about a boycott, or just wants to be a bully, or just wants clout replies. Yeah, all they do is post cringe communist memes. They don't understand the game Lamau addicts. I mean, yeah, that's a melon eater right there. I love melon eaters. The goal of the paid trolls are sock puppets, who are often a small group of people utilizing a large number of accounts. Oh yeah, just... is to redirect the narrative. So above, instead of Gaijin releases one too many egregious pay-to-win economic nerfs and players upset and boycotting, it morphs into players too stupid to successfully boycott also cringe. How about it's both? How about the economy can be screwed? I've what's funny when it comes to economy stuff, right? I've said it many times. If the economy is set up so you only play one nation and that's it, it's not too bad. It works pretty well if you play all factors of that nation. But if you're a person who wants to play all the tech trees and get access to all the content, the economy is fundamentally flawed and will be going forward. I've said that many times. Weird, isn't it? But that's actually my opinion on these things. If you want to see the game as like so everybody grinds out everything, the economy will not let people do that, and that's a problem, and it should be fixed, right? That should be something promoted towards. I believe everybody should try and get every nation to rank 3 so they can do dailies, they can do specials, and they can do all the events that are involved, right? Instead of focusing on 1 or 2 nations, which most people, or at least a decent amount of people who are involved in this do, and also have auto repair on, and also a bunch of other things as well. And of course, we have the Russian espionage and political disruption tactic. I need examples of these paid shills or paid trolls. By the way, I've never been paid by Gaijin. Actually, no, I tell a lie. There was one time where I was paid by Gaijin to do stuff, and it was completely out of my control. So when Enlisted launched, and they were doing like the Twitch drop stuff, the Enlisted official game channel gifted my Twitch channel 10 subs. So technically, they gifted me about $25. So there you go. And then people who bring up like the partner stuff with the discount and everything like that. That's only been going for like what, a year and a half or something like that, maybe 2 years. I've been saying this stuff for 10 years. So like you're gonna have to work out what was going on like the 8 years previously. Like I've never been paid by them. When it comes to this stuff, I put out my opinions and how I think all this stuff works. And when it comes to a lot of the things that have happened in the past, you can go back and see my opinions and see how they haven't really changed, or how I've advocated for stuff to push for and tried to get stuff move through. But then we had some amazing ones. So this is from Haha Steam Bombed, because of course we have to make memes around everything. What is this BS? I never even logged in. How is my account showing this many battles played? In the first image alone, I'm literally in 6 different battles at the same time. This all goes all the way to the beginning of May 26th. Now, the problem is, it's very hard to work out who's trolling and who's being serious. But this person is being serious. And the reason why the mods removed this is because it makes people look stupid. There's 556 upvotes on this. And it's basically... So, if you didn't know in War Thunder, I'll show you. If you didn't know in War Thunder, you can actually check replays from stuff. So you can go to search replays right here. You can enter a name, and then you can have a look at replays there. So, let's see. So you can search players, right? So here's the search player, which is me. So you can have a look at like my account and what's involved in it once it's done with this. Come on, there you go. So this is me, right? This is all my stuff, all the things I've ground out. Now, if you have a look at replays, what you can do is you can open a page which you have to log in on, which you can see, but it will go onto the replays and show you all the replays that are happening at that time, okay? There's a button that you have to click, right, where it says find replays with my participation, and then hit find. If you don't do that, it will show you all the replays that have happened in the game, or all the games that have happened in the game at that time. That's exactly what happened with this person. But because he didn't know how the replay system worked, he thought that his account had been like used by Gaijin to be forced into these battles to be able to play. Nuts. Right? Absolutely nuts. This is the type of person you're dealing with. Gaijin is faking playing numbers. I haven't really gotten myself involved with this whole debacle, nor the so-called strike. Yeah, because there wasn't a strike. But yeah, so this person is categorizing different percentages when it comes to... He's very good at maths. He's gone through all of the different things, laid them out in very nice tables, and gone on through... gone on through everything. Statistical genius at the end of the day. By then doing the same checks as above, as usual, Thursday, Saturday increase of 36% would mean the 27th of May off-peak value will be 44,860, which leaves an extra 14,400 players similar to the value calculated earlier. I would argue that this shows that on the 26th of May only strike is not the cause of the abnormal 26th to 27th May jump. On another note, the player numbers are now climbing for the 27th of May peak. Even though the off-peak was much larger than expected, things could get interesting. So, right, this is... I'll leave links to all of these, by the way, so you can have a look at all of them. This one is important right here, because what this shows is a general understanding of how the statistics work, but also not understanding what is affecting them. So, if you have a look at Steam charts, which once again is the minority of players who play War Thunder. I'll have to keep saying that over and over and over again, even though it's in the top like 10, I believe, of Steam Steam charts, it is still the minority amount of people playing War Thunder. There are many reasons why increases happen, not just weekends or anything like that. As we talked about, real world things, Memorial Day, even the pandemic caused a rapid increase in players of War Thunder, or even stuff such as religious holidays or schools getting out for summer, which are all three things which happen on this weekend, which is why you have a gradual increase from May into June into the updates, which is why they plan the update where it is, because of all of these things happening at that time. So just understand these different things. So yeah, that's how that goes. And then you have this. Those of you who had your reviews moved on Steam, go back and post an actual bad review instead of an immature one-liner. So the same guy, by the way. So this absolutely nutso. And yeah, and then we have this one, which is fun. We'll get into. But yeah, I wanted to go through some Steam posts because I find them quite funny as well. So we have, to everyone who says player base is using mob mentality, we are. And Gaijin is getting hammered, and I hope we damage the game as much as we can. We have been begging for these issues to be solved for years now, always ignored and always getting worse. I have a lot of money invested in this game, and I would defo delete my account if everyone else did too, just out of spite for Gaijin. Coming here and saying you degrade the game's image, you're just a tool, in my honest opinion. When did Gaijin take action? When we boycotted the game, and it wasn't even action. They first tried to excuse themselves before finally saying they were going to sort this out. All their games are total cash grabs with mechanics to end frustration. This is the first game I see the developers actually trying to hurt the player base. So yeah, you are more than in our rights to riot until they actually fix the issue. If not, I won't ever change my review. It was already negative way before all this boycott thing anyway. So it's hard to tell if it's a troll or not, but it's a funny one. I like it. So I enjoy it. So there was a bunch of conspiracy theories about what was going on. There was a bunch of people saying stuff like Gaijin were botting the game. To make it look like the numbers weren't as crazy as they were. There were people saying that there was others logging into their accounts to be able to play the game. Once again, Gaijin doing this, or maybe just put two-factor authentication on your account. I don't know. Maybe that's a better idea. And then there was other people saying that they were in collusion with Steam to be able to screw with the player numbers. It was all quite fun to read, actually. But one thing has to be noted. If Gaijin wanted to manipulate the numbers, why would they do it through Steam? Why would they not just do it through their own website? Why would they not just increase the number in the game and not screw with Steam? Because then they don't have to leave a paper trail of what they were doing. Crazy, right? Weird. But no, that didn't go through anybody's heads for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, that was always interesting. But the other thing to also note, since we're going on down conspiracy theory lane, if we want to throw in a bunch of conspiracy theories about general stuff, we can do. There is a hell of a comment. There was a hell of a comment on one of the videos, which was this one, which we'll probably go into at some point, but it's just an absolute mess of a comment, which is just full of just ridiculous theories, which has 400 bloody upvotes. Like, you can read it yourself. If you want me to go through this, just let me know, because we can go through all of the different things that he's talking about here, but it's just absolutely nuts, like what what's going on in his head. So yeah, it's always enjoyable. But yeah, there was a lot going on. If you want a fun conspiracy, like literally you have CCs that are involved in this, which also are partners with Gaijin. How are they not double agents? How are they allowed to be playing both sides? How are they allowed to be good old General or Agent Zigzag? But no, nobody seems to care because, as I said, they're on your side. Always fun. Love that. Always pelt the middleman instead. It's much easier to do. So yeah, the other thing that also happened was there was a bunch of cropped images of, you know, certain things happening. There was also a bunch of doctored videos showing the player count artificially jumping and going down and everything that people got very excited about, which were all just lies. Because it's fun screwing with people, especially when they are absolutely nuts. So this one is probably the best take. Did we cock up? So this was posted yesterday. Seriously, full honesty. I think our protest is in the shitter. People playing again, including the mods, on the sub. The player count is solid. The only hope we have is that the player count is being tampered with by Gaijin, but the only piece of evidence we have is a dodgy graph. It's solid evidence, but it's everything we have. Yes, the Steam charts. As I said, if you were going to manipulate the player numbers, why wouldn't you just do it in the game and not bother with Steam? The replay thing is faked. The options are always cropped out. True. But there's other evidence, like people getting emails that someone logged into their account. However, nobody knows if that too isn't faked outrage bait. Yeah, or just protect your accounts, guys. With people giving up, could it be that we failed? Or the momentum gone? The hype was big. Is everyone just not committed enough? Did we never have as much people as we thought we had? Is everyone just a traitor? Or are people just so utterly incapable of basic grass touching that their War Thunder addiction caught up with them just one day? I don't know. I'll continue the boycott War Thunder for the remaining of the 2 weeks, but it's dawning on me that by June 8th, I'll be the only one. Yeah, because it was a minority opinion. Weird, huh? But the simple thing is, if people really can't put the game down, you need to just go for a walk or try and play something else or do something else. If you feel like you are tied to it in that way, it is better for you to just go and relax and do something else, you know? Simple as that. The other thing is, a lot of people who were involved in this already stopped playing the game years ago. There's a massive overlap when it comes to the War Thunder Reddit specifically, and also others, where they still, as I said at the start of this, they're still involved in the War Thunder community, but they haven't played for years, and they just don't know what to do. I don't know, and they don't seem to do anything else. So you're basically telling a bunch of people to boycott the game who already don't play the game anymore and haven't for years. So of course they're not going to play the game because they're already not doing it. So you just have this situation where you have a ton of people who don't play the game already, and they're all basically sniffing their own farts. It's crazy. I want to end with the best piece of media that has actually come out of this whole thing. So enjoy the wonderful lyricism of "Do You Hear the Players Sing," which is just it shows the whole movement in general, I think.
Do you hear the players singing the song of angry men? It is a music of the gamers who will not be nerfed again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there's a life about to start when tomorrow comes. Will you join our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me? Beyond the game, is there a world you long to see? Then join the fight that will give you the right to be free. Do you hear the players sing the song of angry men? It is the music of the gamers who will not be nerfed again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there's a life about to start when tomorrow comes.
Do you hear the players singing the sound of angry men? It is the music of the gamers who will not be nerfed again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there's a life about to start when tomorrow comes. Will you join our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me? Beyond the gate, is there a world you long to see? Then join the fight that will give the right to be free. Do you hear the people singing the sound of angry men? It is the music of the gamers who will not be nerfed again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there's a life about to start when tomorrow comes.
So there you go. There's my opinion about the whole thing. A bit of fun, a good week, and nice to recap it. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Millie Draper, Juan the Panda, Nick R. Kupila, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie B. Young, Peter Grayling, Jerry Provolt, Bareen, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, Derek R., and Lafouche for supporting the channel.